So we're going to do something a little bit different this morning that we've been talking about for a long time, and we're going to have to talk fast. I'm not good at short answers, so when you ask me questions, you can say things to me like, make it snappy, you know.
Todd has reminded Test. Yeah. Todd has reminded me not to talk too fast, so I'm going to try and split the difference.
So you have to talk not too fast, and I have to talk not too long. Got it. Okay.
Yes.
So
together we'll make it work.
If you've been around LifeSpring Church, you have certainly heard us talk about our work in Haiti and New Life for Haiti, but you may have heard it mostly in kind of passing references to something happening in Haiti, or as David will talk about at the end of this little conversation, maybe a fundraiser or some other event going on. But you probably don't really realize, if you're even maybe if you're around here in the last couple of years, you may not really understand the scope of what this has been in our church community and what New Life for Haiti has become, because we haven't really put the spotlight on it enough in the last couple of years, certainly post-pandemic. We haven't put the spotlight on our Haiti stuff enough. So a lot of you just don't know very much about it. And what you don't realize is you come in here on Sunday and you don't realize that every day of the week down on the southern peninsula of Haiti, there is all kinds of stuff going on that is changing children's lives and families' lives that came out of this church community. And so I just really felt like, David and I felt like it's really time to kind of bring you into that story again. And, you know, New Life for Haiti over the years, New Life for Haiti started out of LifeSpring. It became its own separate organization because it began to develop partner churches. So now there are other churches involved in New Life for Haiti. And LifeSpring is just one of the churches that is involved in New Life for Haiti. But I thought before we start, because I'm not preaching, you can't ever have a LifeSpring Sunday without some Bible. So I'm going to give you some Bible that's really appropriate for the conversation we're going to have. It's from the little letter of James in the New Testament, James chapter 2. And I want to read it to you from the translation called The Message, because it's just, well, probably the best way to say it's in your face. So here it is. Dear friends, do you think you'll get anywhere in this if you learn all the right words but never do anything? Does merely talking about faith indicate that a person really has it? For instance, you come upon someone dressed in rags and half-starved, and you say, "Good morning, friend. Be clothed in Christ, be filled with the Holy Spirit, and walk off without providing so much as a coat or a cup of soup." Where does that get you? Isn't it obvious that God talk without God act is outrageous nonsense?
Amen.
So that sets up this conversation really well. So what we're going to do, because I have lived and know the history of our work in Haiti, and so David's going to ask me some questions about that, and I'm going to tell you the history. And David is now the director of New Life for Haiti, and so then I'm going to ask him some questions so that he can tell you what is happening with all that work right now today. And with that, I think we're off.
Pop quiz. So, Fran, how did this adventure even start?
How did this adventure start? Oddly, you know, have you ever had that experience in life where you look back on your life and you realize something started in your life by something that almost seems, you know, almost random? I think of my friends Brian and Leslie Zarita here at church, who met in line to buy White Sox tickets. And then the whole rest of their lives were different, right? So what happened was somewhere back around 2000, so I don't know, 7-8 years after, I think. Linda will probably correct me on the chronology. I think after we started the church, a pastor we knew in a group of churches we were connected to, that group of churches had some churches in Haiti and some schools in Haiti, and he said, "Hey, I'm taking some pastors and their wives to Haiti. Would you guys like to come and see what we do in Haiti?" Well, we're not big, we hadn't been big world travelers or anything. So I thought, well, that's kind of intriguing. So I said to Linda, "Would you go on this pastors and wives thing to Haiti?" And she said, "Sure." Of course, we got to the Miami airport. None of the other pastors' wives from all around the U.S. brought their wives. Their wives all said no. So we're in the Miami airport, and Linda says, "Where are the other wives? I don't think they came." So we spent a week in Haiti, and it was we were overwhelmed by the poverty and overwhelmed by the beauty of the people simultaneously, which felt like a very conflicted sort of experience. But we fell in love with it, and we felt like, oh my gosh, we have such a privileged life here. We should be doing something. So what we started doing was we started taking a team to Haiti like once a year. We would take a LifeSpring team down and just do a project. We might paint a school, or one time we built windows for a hospital. And this was kind of up in the north of Haiti. And out of that, we met a missionary couple who were working there named Steve and Jolene Moore. And we can't really tell the story of the beginning of New Life for Haiti without talking about what they meant to it. So they had already been in Haiti for quite a number of years. And so we developed this strong bond with them, but it was still just kind of a once a year thing, like, hey, we're going to go help with a little project or something. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that short-term kind of project-based work is how a lot of people get started in this, and that's how I got hooked, and then, here I am. So be careful. No. So how did you guys end up working specifically in the Grand Anse River Valley? How'd you want that geographic location?
Yeah, so if you look at that map, you can see, I don't know if you know where Haiti is, but it's south of Florida in the Caribbean. To give you an idea, from Miami to Port-au-Prince, Haiti is just like an hour and a half, hour and 45-minute flight.
Yes, south of Florida, east of Cuba, west of Puerto Rico.
Yes, and the other half of the island is the Dominican Republic, and where we work in Haiti is way out at what I call the thumb, the end of the peninsula. And it's an odd place to end up because, well, now there aren't a lot of organizations working in Haiti because of all the tumult in Haiti in recent years. But when there were a lot more organizations working in Haiti, most of them were clustered around the capital, Port-au-Prince, because that's where you have to fly into, so that's where people end up working. We ended up way out in this remote area. I don't really have time to tell the whole story of how we ended up out there, but through a set of kind of weird connections, Steve and Jolene, they had come to the end of their work with this other group of churches. And they said, well, maybe it's time for us to go home to Idaho, or maybe we're going to do something else. And so we said, well, what if we started our own thing? And I remember Christians here said to me, you can't just start your own missions thing in another country. You realize you have to work with a missions organization. And I was like, well, somebody started all those organizations. We could start our own thing. So we said, let's start our own thing. So Steve and Jolene ended up living in that city of Jeremy. That's Steve and Jolene. They ended up living in that city of Jeremy out at the end of the peninsula. And they asked people there, where are the poorest, most struggling areas around here? And of course, that's kind of a dumb question in Haiti, because if you throw a rock in any direction, it's poor. The average Haitian family lives on, I don't know, $300-400 a year, which is just, it's that, you hear people talk about that $1 a day poverty, right? And so but people kept telling them about one area along the Grand Anse River as you went out from the city of Jeremy. So I went down there with Tom and Lori McCluskey, who used to be part of our church and retired in South Carolina, and a couple people from a couple other churches that were working with us in central Illinois and southern Indiana. And we went down there on an exploratory trip, and we wandered that valley, and as we wandered that valley and met people, we began to realize this is a really good place to work. And we just felt called to do that. And so Steve and Jolene helped us do that. We realized we had to build a house out there in the country on the river. So we raised, the first money we raised went to build the house, which is Caibo Rivier, which is in Creole, House by the River. So now it has an apartment on top, but that's what it originally looked like. And in those early trips, we met Felix Plaisir. You'll see a picture of him later with David. But we met Felix, who is our field director today in Haiti and has been our right-hand guy. An amazing, amazing young man. And many of you have been to Haiti with us. You know Felix and you've met Felix. So it's a strange thing, I have to say, if I can just say it this way, as a white kid from the suburbs, to go wander in the rural, poor area of a foreign country and feel drawn like there's something that we're supposed to be here. But it was inescapable.
So after Caibo Rivier was built, what were some of the first projects for New Life for Haiti?
So we started meeting people in these different villages. And there is public education for kids in Haiti, but in a lot of places it either doesn't exist or the schools they have there can't possibly take care of all the kids. So in the rural areas, most of the education of younger children, like grade school, is done by churches. And most of these churches have schools that resemble a big shack. And so as we were going from village to village, we saw these schools that were literally skinny posts from skinny trees that had been cut down with a thatch roof, and sometimes some crude benches, sometimes kids just sitting on the ground. And that was school. And a piece of masonite for a lousy chalkboard, and no books or supplies or materials in the classrooms. And so an obvious thing was we need to do something about education. So we started asking some of these pastors who had these schools, could we build you a better school building? And they said, yeah, that would be great. And so we started building school buildings. We built 6 or 7 of them. And in these villages along the river and up in the mountains. I can't tell you the trips we took, crazy trips we took up into the mountains to stake out schools and figure out where they were going to go, and figuring out the property and all that kind of stuff. And we got school supplies for some of those. And we started to do things like, we built a clinic building at the local Catholic church because they had a team that would come down and do some clinics sometimes. So we built them a building so they'd have a place to keep all their pharmaceuticals and their instruments and all that kind of stuff. So we didn't really know what we were doing. We just looked around and said, how do we help?
So that's a huge undertaking for a modest, small church, right?
Yeah, yeah.
How did people here respond to doing that?
Well, we were still worshiping in Droughton Point School when we really, at that mark where we said we're going to... So what happened was, after that 5 years of doing a trip every year, we all kind of looked at each other and said, we're not really making that big a difference. We feel good about going to Haiti and doing these projects, but we're not making that big a difference. To make a bigger difference, we would have to pick one place and make a long-term commitment and say we're going to love these people for the rest of our lives. And so we started talking about doing that, and we started talking about that in our church. And I still remember the night our eldership team met, and we decided we're going to do this. And I remember one of the people in that group said, do we have any money to do any of this? And I said, no. In fact, church is really struggling. And they said, well, how are we going to do this? I said, we're going to do 2 things. We're going to pray, right? Always a good idea. And we're going to ask people to give. Like we're going to have a fundraising dinner. Tell people, bring your friends, and we'll ask them for money. and that's what we started doing. We had annual fundraisers at Benedictine University, the annual New Life for Haiti Gala. Many of you remember those and attended those for years and years and years. But most people, so we were still worshiping at Droughton Point School when we birthed New Life for Haiti. Most of the people in the church were excited. Some people were not. We lost some people over starting New Life for Haiti because some people were angry that we were building schools for kids in Haiti instead of building ourselves a church building, which we later did, and you're sitting inside it. But at the time, I had people saying to me, this is irresponsible that we're building schools for kids in Haiti, and we should not be doing that when we don't have a church building. And my internal reaction, sometimes I said it and sometimes I didn't, was, I don't know, it sounds to me like what Jesus would do. Jesus would look at these kids who have no place to go to school, or these families that are hungry and need food, and he would say, well, maybe that's more important than us having a building. And so, mostly good, but we had some people get mad and leave because we made that commitment.
At some point after that, the decision was made for New Life for Haiti to build its own school. Tell me about that story.
Yeah. So, a lot of you know Michael and Marnie Van Wyk. So Marnie's a teacher, and Marnie, I asked her to come to Haiti. Up until that point, she hadn't been super involved, but I said, would you come to Haiti and kind of assess what we're doing with education? Because we're building these schools, these buildings for these church-based schools, but the quality of education happening in those schools is not very good. Some of the teachers weren't really trained as teachers. There were no decent materials. It's a very rote style of education that they inherited from the French during the colonial period, where the teacher just writes on the chalkboard and the kids write it down, and they may or may not understand what they're writing down. So Marnie came on a trip. We visited these schools, and on the way home, she and I sat on the plane and looked at each other and said, "It's not really that great, is it?" I mean, we have more kids in school, but they're not getting a good education. And so after a lot of conversation, she and I, and then eventually the other leaders of New Life for Haiti at that point, said, if we want to increase the quality of education, we're going to have to start our own school. So then that raises a ton of questions. Like, we live in Chicago. How do we start our own school? Will they let us do that? Do you have permission to do that? So I sat, on one of my trips, I sat down with the Minister of Education for the Grand Anse department, or sort of province, and said, would you let us do this? And his response was, you know what the quality of education is out there. He said, go do whatever you want. In fact, I said to him, do you need to give us a license or make something official? He said, go start your school. I'll fix you up a paper later, which is kind of Haiti sometimes. That's kind of how Haiti is. And so we did. And so today, David will tell you more about that. School of Hope is thriving. We started with kindergartners, first grade. But here's the thing. So the School of Hope is in a valley across the river from where our house is, a place called Rivière-Mauron. And it's in a valley where, when we surveyed the population there, the illiteracy rate was over 90% of adults could not read. And a lot of times in Haiti, if you ask a parent, what's your dream for your child? Oh, I want my little girl to be a nurse. I want my son to be a teacher or a doctor. Over there, you know what the parents told us? No one in our family has ever been able to write their name or read a book. That's our dream for our child. Sorry. And when we tried to figure out where to start the School of Hope, we looked at all these different villages and sites, and we went across the river into that spot. And when the people figured out why we were scoping out their properties, we were trying to be on the down low, and they kind of, got it out of Felix and I. We were over there one day, and we said, well, we're looking for a place to start a school. And they said, you have to start the school here. See, I didn't know I was going to do this. And I said, why? And they said, because when the river is high, our kids can't get to the schools on the other side of the river, and there is no school here. You have to start the school here. And I looked at Felix and I said, we have to start the school here. And so now the School of Hope is this thriving thing up into 9th grade, I think, this year. Is that right?
You're close, 8th.
8th grade. But that anyway, all my answers are too long. But
it's okay. Yeah. So as you know, and others may know or recall or catch the headline once in a while on the news, Haiti, on the island of Hispaniola, it shares the island with the Dominican Republic. Haiti is prone to natural disasters, earthquakes, floods, storms, etc. And over these 17 odd years, you guys have weathered that. But Hurricane Matthew came through, and that was a little different for you guys. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
So the area where we work, out in that end of that thumb, was top dead center for Hurricane Matthew. 2010, the big earthquake, that was in Port-au-Prince, some damage in the outlying areas. Hurricane Matthew, our area was top dead center. Came over those mountains like nothing anybody had ever seen. Haitians are used to weathering tropical storms. Hurricane Matthew came over those mountains, and it took everything with it. We lost communication. With today's technology, David could WhatsApp Felix right now and or call him and probably get him on the phone. He might be in church. So, so we have all this technology. We had no communication. We didn't know. We were watching the news reports. We didn't know if our people, all these people we've made connections with, we didn't know if they were dead or alive. We had built the School of Hope. We didn't know if it was standing or not standing, the first building we had built for School of Hope. And so some of us started to talk about we just have to go down there. I was trying to get into the country. I was trying to get in with the Red Cross because I speak Creole, so I thought maybe they'll let me in as a translator, but I was having a hard time getting in. Finally, they started to let some people in, so a couple other guys from church and I got on a plane, grabbed all the money we could and stuffed it in our underwear, and went to Haiti. Felix, by the time we got there, I don't remember how it all went together. Felix had gotten some communication, and he said, I'm going to meet you in Port-au-Prince. He couldn't get our pickup trucks off the property because all the big trees were down. He rode his motorcycle over the mountains, took a bus to Port-au-Prince, and then borrowed a car from some guy under the pretense that he might want to buy it. It was like this old little Nissan something. And I said, whose car is this? And he said, a guy I know here in Port-au-Prince. I said, why is he letting you use it? I told him I might want to buy it. I'm like, okay. And we drove that thing to the end of the peninsula. And I've been to Haiti a lot, probably 120 times. And it was a surreal experience, seeing what the country looked like. And as we got closer and closer to that area, when we got into the mountains before you descend to the area where we work, everybody's houses are gone. People who had 2 walls left were trying to find tarps. We had loaded up on tarps in Port-au-Prince. People were trying to find tarps. They were trying to find money. They had no food. Everybody was hungry. We actually had a problem with a tire up in the mountains, a little tiny town. And when we stopped to try to figure out if we could find a tire or a wheel there, we actually got held hostage in that village because they knew that we would have tarps and we would have money. And so we were literally guarding our vehicle, and they built a barricade out of old tires and logs and set it on fire to keep us from leaving by the only road that you could leave the village from. And it's a long story, but we prayed, and somehow we met the local magistrate, like the village judge, and he got us out of there. Boy, I wish I had time to tell you. It's crazy. God got us out of there. So we're driving out the peninsula from Jeremy to Marfranc, where our house is, at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And all I can see is what's in the headlights. And if you can imagine, if you've ever seen certain war movies and things, and you've seen an area that's just been napalmed, it's been burned over, it's been torched, there's nothing green. So literally, all the big trees, 20 feet off the ground, like somebody cut them off with a knife. Every smaller tree was laying flat, and there wasn't a green blade of anything. Not a leaf, not a blade of grass, not the sugarcane fields, nothing. Everything was gone. And I just remember thinking like, oh my God, like what? You know, and then we got to the house at 3 in the morning, and some of the young men who worked for us were there. There's no food anywhere. And we're there like, a week plus after the hurricane. And the guys all woke up, and so it's 3 in the morning, and we're chatting. And I said to one of our guys, Jacqueline, I said, what are people saying out here? And he said, they're saying we'll all be dead in 2 weeks because there's no food. Nobody had eaten for over a week at that point. And so we're just like, right? We're just like 3 guys from Chicago, right? It's not like, we're not World Vision, we're not the American Red Cross, what do? We found out there was food in the city of Jeremy, and we went to one of the stores where we buy food for our child feeding program. And I walked into the store, and I said to the guy, you have food? And he said, yeah. And I said, do you know what's happening out in the rural area? And he said, yeah, but I can't give away my food. I said, no. I said, but I want to buy everything. And he said, well, I don't know how much we have. Like, they don't inventory. I mean, this is a little store, stacked floor to ceiling. I said, well, you better figure it out, because I'm going to be back tomorrow with a truck. And his wife grabs a pad, and she's like, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we went back the next night, and we bought everything in that store, and we started giving away food. And Haitians are gracious people. I've never seen such violence in my life, because if you haven't eaten for over a week, somebody starts giving away food. Now I understand the concept. You might have heard of organizations doing food drops. You know why they drop the food from an airplane or a helicopter? Because to take the food on the ground is dangerous. And anyway, it was crazy. And then we began to say, how do we help people rebuild?
Thank you for sharing that. Hard and good stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of challenges, the Village of Hope, short version.
Village of Hope. Short version. Village of Hope is our orphanage. So for a decade, Felix, our right-hand guy, said to me, we have to start an orphanage. But orphanages around the world, a lot of them have bad reputations, and a lot of them in Haiti are scams. They're used to bilk money out of American people. There's orphanages in Haiti where they only put the kids in there when the Americans come to visit. It's a pretend orphanage to raise money from the Americans. So I said, Felix, I know about orphanages in Haiti. We are not starting an orphanage. And it's a questionable thing all over the world these days. David will tell you, people debate. Are orphanages good, bad, whatever. But Felix said, there's kids without parents. There's kids whose parents can't feed them. We got to do this. We got to do this. Finally, he wore me down. I said, you have to promise me this is going to be something good. And it's going to be done with integrity and truth and love. And you hear of orphanages where there's abuse. I said, this can't be any of that, because this has to be fantastic. And he said, it will be. And so we began to, right next to our house, on the property right next to our house, which is where Felix and now his wife live. And so we built the village. We built and started a few years ago the Village of Hope Orphanage, which is an amazing thing. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about it.
I'll say a little more later.
Yeah.
So kind of lastly, from me to you, asking, So you've been 120 times.
Yeah, something like that.
You know, teams have gone. How many other teams do you think have gone? Like, have you gone every time? And what's happened since 2020?
There have been teams that have gone without me, but I also, the last few years before the pandemic, and I'll never do this again at this point because I was responsible for New Life for Haiti at that point in entirety. There was no Marnie, there was no David. So before the pandemic, I was going 6 to 8 times a year, which was tough on LifeSpring because some LifeSpringers didn't like it because they're like, every time they turned around, where's Pastor Fran this weekend? Oh, well, he's in Haiti. And there were teams that went without me, but I was thinking about it. I don't know if you guys, there's probably no way to do the math. If I had to guess, I would say something like 70 or 80 teams have gone over the years. And I want all of you who are newer to LifeSpring to know you sit with people every week who have gone where we work. Many of them multiple times, you know. I see Gary Snyder standing back here. Gary's been to Haiti. Todd Pearson, who's behind the video camera here, I don't know how many times, a lot. Todd's been to Haiti with us to shoot photos and shoot videos so we could show people here the work that we do. And many others of you scattered across this room and watching online, you've been to Haiti with us. So lots of people have been a part of this beautiful work. And I guess the last thing I want to say about the history is this. I never saw it coming. We were just going to start a nice little church in the suburbs. And if you would have said to me in 1993 when we planted this church, pal, you guys are going to do this thing in a poor country, and this is what it's going to look like, I would have been like, I think you got the wrong guy. It has been, other than this church community, it has been the most beautiful, other than this church community and my marriage. I know, but I mean that. I know. The guys are all going, good save. No, but I mean that. But I mean that. Because there would be no this church and there would be no New Life for Haiti if it wasn't for Linda by my side. But other than this church and my marriage, our work in Haiti is the most beautiful, unexpected adventure of my life. So,
yeah, that's, for me, super relatable of, not the Linda part, I love you, but, you know, different dynamics. The unexpected, like, how did I end up here? I ask myself that pretty frequently and sometimes multiple times a day. And, you know, some of the imposter syndrome or the dissonance between how we live here day to day and what I know is going on in Haiti. So thank you for sharing that.
Many of you have probably been to places like Haiti, maybe even on vacation if you've gone to the Caribbean or Mexico or something, and you've seen some of this kind of poverty. But once you experience it, it changes your perspective on mature. The first time we went to Haiti, when we got back, our kids were like in middle school at the time. Our son Luke and his wife are here, by the way, this morning. But the first time we got back, I walked around my house that night, flipping on the lights and running the faucets. And I said to Linda, we live in the Taj Mahal. Like, we had no idea, you know. And I had to go to the grocery store that night that we got back from that first trip in Haiti because our kids needed food for lunches the next day. I walked into the jewel store down at Caton Farm in 59 and I started to bawl because I thought, most of the people in the world have never seen anything like that, right? 60,000 square feet stuffed with food. Are you kidding me? So the last thing I wanted to say about the hurricane is this, because I forgot to tell this part. We have always had a policy that said you never walk around Haiti giving away cash. Right? You help people, but you don't go around giving away money. People had nothing. I walked through the mountains. You probably saw that. If you saw that picture of me with that woman with the skeleton of her house that was left, I walked through the mountains and visited family after family like that, and I just gave them wads of money. I said, if you can find some food, buy it. If you can find some boards to start rebuilding your house, buy it, you know. Anyway, so I'm supposed to ask you questions.
Oh, boy.
Are you ready?
No, but go ahead.
Okay. So just talk a little bit about the values that guide what New Life for Haiti does in the programs and ministry that it does.
Yeah, thank you. So here you have on our slide, empowering, equipping, caring, and encouraging is kind of our core value collection. And all of that is to say we meet people where they're at. We don't impose on them. We say, hey, we got this great idea of what you guys should do. And you set the tone early on in New Life for Haiti of meeting with the community and asking them what their needs are. And so we continually do that. Our field director, Felix Plaisir, who got married late last year, I think, here's us at the medical clinic that he had when I went to Haiti, where a whole bunch of people in the back that were waiting for a chance to be seen by an American nurse and doctor and get some medicine, because there's a great need there, especially in this area. He is, I sit here as the executive director. Felix is running the show on the ground in Haiti. And yeah. And after getting married, they are expecting their first child in December.
Pretty exciting.
So the Village of Hope orphans call him Papa Felix, and now he's going to be Papa to his
own child.
Something he helped make.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about the School of Hope. So what is New Life for Haiti doing in education right now?
Yeah, so in Haiti, they have some different ways that they refer to some of their early grade levels and their later grade levels. So I'll try to Americanize it for us. We do pre-K all the way through 8th grade right now. We're going to expand out at least to 9th grade. We'll see what the future holds. Sometimes in Haiti, we have, you've heard the term driving within your headlights, at night. We're driving in our headlights, and our headlights are kind of close when it comes to Haiti stuff. But right now, School of Hope has in the ballpark of 236 kids that are helping, that are learning to read. 236
kids in a valley where none of the parents have ever read or written.
On a school that was built on the wrong side of the river.
Yeah.
And people see that, and they're coming from over the mountain and everywhere to try and get into our school. Because in Haiti, you have to pay for your kids to go to school. It's not like here, I got to buy school supplies or a school registration fee. There, it's like you're paying tuition. And so to help do that, they cram as many kids as possible. Here, because we're in the U.S. mostly taking care of the cost, that we can say 2 teachers to 25 kids is the ideal ratio. And you educators, I see, are probably nodding your heads yeah. But man, those smiles keep me going. And we still have some connection to some of those mountain schools.
That we're still helping.
So overall, over 300 kids that we are supporting for their education, making sure that they eat during the school day, because many times they can't. It's not like they're bringing a lunch. And we have started a secondary scholarship program to enable them past 12th grade to pursue trade school, to pursue university level studies. So agronomy, agriculture, tailoring, being a nurse. We have one that's going to be training to be a doctor. And dentists, I think we have a handful of dentists, which is great. But it's transforming. It's transforming their lives. It's transforming to the future of Haiti. It's transforming to the communities, their families. Education's huge.
I've been in Haitian classrooms. I was in a Haitian first grade classroom with 1 teacher and 110 kids. So we don't do that at the School of Hope. That's one of the differences, is we have an actual reasonable teacher to student ratio. And
we've got 4 classroom buildings, and we may expand further than that. So,
and we talked about the Village of Hope. So what's going on at Village of Hope, at the orphanage?
Village of Hope, these lovely kids, they're awesome. So there is a spin-off classroom from underneath the administration of the School of Hope that educates them. At least all but the 3 oldest. The 3 oldest go to a Catholic school on that side of the river and get an education there, and they are doing well. And 24/7 care. So there are 2 teams of 3 mamas that cook, clean, nurture, care for, supervise, all that stuff, these kids. One team works during the week, the other team subs in on the weekends. And we have some other ancillary staff, a social worker who provides trauma-informed care, because many of these kids, their stories, their individual stories are, they're rough.
Yeah.
They're rough. And so we make sure that they are developing well, mentally, emotionally, physically, health-wise. We have a team of nurses that checks in on them and does some other things. And yeah, it takes a village. That's the village.
Yeah. So the Grand Anse River runs through the valley where we work, and there are some springs scattered throughout the mountains, but not in every place, and a lot of people get their water from the river. And a lot of people get sick and die because of the water in the river, because it's the same place that the animals do whatever they do.
Yeah.
And Todd probably remembers one really good animal story.
Yeah.
I don't have time to tell it. So in just the last few years, New Life for Haiti has been doing more with clean water for some of these villages. What is that? How is that done?
Yeah, so we started with wells, kind of the legacy. New Life for Haiti started doing some wells in some strategic locations that were community wells. Like I live where I live, I have a private well on our property. They don't have that luxury, right? So what we did was took over kind of a ministry from another couple that was exiting because of some health reasons. They had a ministry where they went around and built cisterns. So to catch rainwater on the roof and store it safely so that people wouldn't have to go into the water, take buckets back up the mountain and use that water for cooking and cleaning and drinking, and that would make them sick and cause all sorts of problems. So we kind of took in, and what we do is we build these cisterns before they're constructed, have meetings with the community, say, hey, we're going to do this. It's going to be your cistern. We're not going to own it. We're going to help. And we construct it, and we train them in the use of these water filters, because that water still needs to be filtered and treated and make sure it doesn't get funky. But this is huge for people. It for families, for their health. It's kind of a corollary to, like, there's education. You need to have clean water, right? Think of the basics. Like, we flush our toilets with clean, drinkable water, right? They don't have that luxury. So providing this is big.
It's an amazing thing. If you can picture a village up in a mountain where everybody has to come down the mountain. One time I was coming down a mountain with 3 little kids. The oldest was like 6. And they were each carrying like 2 1-gallon jugs.
Yep.
And I said, are you going to get water? And they said, oui. Yeah. And I said, where do you go? And they said, the river. Yeah. Which is like a couple hours down the mountain, right? We're talking like 3, 4, 5 years old. And I said, is it far? And they said, no, pas trop loin. It's not too far. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Yeah. So picture a village like that now has a cistern. They get water right in the village.
So you may have heard this story, like, back in my day, I used to have to walk to school, like uphill both ways, right? That's what these kids were doing, like 2 miles down the mountain, 2 miles back up the mountain, carrying water.
Yeah.
I've met a similar group.
Yeah. So what about agriculture, raising goats, that kind of stuff? Because there's some of that too.
Yeah. So we have an agronomist on staff. They call him agronomists, more like agriculturalist, right? There's some translation things that we do. So you can see him there in the top right. Does a few things. Number one, the task of our agronomist is to provide seed distribution and cultivation training to the community. So we'll buy the seeds and we'll sit them in a seminar and say, like, here's how to properly care for your stuff, for your home gardens, because they don't go to the grocery store, right? They're subsistence farmers. They got to grow their own stuff or trade or exchange. And here he is teaching 7th graders how to do that, because there's an agronomy class in our school that all the kids take, because that's part of the way of life, especially in that community. And we do goat distributions too. We have a goat breeding program, which might sound weird. But basically, we have a pastor on staff who has the male goat, and we buy female goats and distribute them. And he's a matchmaker. He's a matchmaker. You know how that happens. And goats typically only produce 1 offspring, but in the event that there are twins, the other twin goat goes back into the program. And so it's kind of something that we're doing to help make sure that everyone's being sustained.
Right, kind of self-perpetuating.
Our goal is sustainability.
Yeah.
Not for us to always be here doing things, but.
So talk a little bit about food support to the community. Talk a little bit about medical.
Yeah. So food support, we do meal packs here in the States. We partner with Lifeline Christian Ministries to do them. We've done them here in this church. We've done them out in the community. And we pack that food. And if you've ever done like a Feed My Starving Children thing, very similar thing. They come out to us, we do it here, and then we get to determine where that food goes, and it goes to Haiti. And it gets distributed here. We are on the steps of Cabo Riviere, and it is very orderly. Felix has a well-oiled system in place where people show up with their ticket on the given day, and they're used to the procedure. They're like, all right, I show up. We're not fighting. We're getting our food and going. And that food is used to supplement droughts or poor harvests or just general food insecurity at different times of the year.
And then medical, like, there's been a shift with the community health.
For sure.
Stuff, right?
So my introduction into being in Haiti was with a medical team. And we can't really do that anymore. And so we said, well, since we can't be back in Haiti, how can we still support community health and medical needs? And our staff nurse has been doing community health seminars. So it's usually a group of, I think it's mostly, if not exclusively, women, mothers, wives in the community who get together once a month and learn about a different health topic. So think about the health topics you learn in school, in public school, right? They don't have that background education. So when you talk about sanitation or disease prevention or signs of a disease, rather than maybe culturally going to turning to folk medicine or something that might not be effective, they say, no, when you're having this kind of fever and this, you need to go to an actual doctor. And we've distributed some community health kits, so some bleach, some soap, some things like that, because cholera is starting to be a problem in the country, and hand washing solves so many problems. Not a routine practice there because with what water, right?
Yeah.
And so trying to educate and meet people where they're at, and it's been a great success. We're on our second cohort, so they've done maybe 8 classes, 8 months, and then we're starting with a new group of people.
Yeah, it's hard. It's probably hard for some Americans, maybe for some of you, to imagine how isolated people are in terms of what they know and the education they get about basic things in life. But imagine living up in a village in the mountains and you've never learned anything about how disease works, how bacteria works, anything about what makes water good or makes water bad, anything about where you should and shouldn't go to the bathroom in relation to maybe where you get your water, things like that. And so it's a lot of simple education. One time, a friend and I, when we went to one of the villages, Plan Marie, for the very first time, we had our phones and we were taking pictures of the kids as they were coming out of the village to greet us. They were all excited. And we were showing them their pictures, and they would look at a group photo of 6 Haitian kids, and they would go, they'd never seen a picture of themselves. So they were process of elimination, figuring out who all their friends were. That must be me. Because they don't have a mirror in their house, never seen a photograph of themselves. That's how isolated. So you say, well, so what have they learned about community health? Nothing,
Prior to our seminars.
Yeah, prior to our, So what is New Life for Haiti doing, because we're doing some new things, in terms of providing spiritual support and development?
So in the past, the pastor trainings that you and some other church leaders would put together, and Haitian church pastors and their wives would show up and be like, oh, the Americans are here to show us some stuff. And you'd have great conversations.
Yep.
And one of the things we're doing now, because we can't just like go door to door and do evangelism the way that some of us might have done in our past. I've done it. That is predicated on all sorts of kind of underlying assumptions of what life is like, right? And just like that verse in James that you read this morning, if we're not actively helping with their situation, not coming alongside them and saying, hey, we want to partner with you and help you, and demonstrating Jesus as much as talking about Jesus, if not more than talking about Jesus, they're not going to get it. So you are all those programs are the things we're doing, right? This is something that we're talking about. And Fran had the idea, leading with Jesus, to get some younger, I think below 40, so I'm too old for it now, to be in this program, and not to just receive and be like, yep, we're going to check the box and we're going to like learn from the Americans, but to engage in conversations and get exposure to the deeper theological, the love of Jesus, the walk of Jesus, what we kind of embody here in our church community.
Yeah.
To encourage that and not to tell them, here's what you should believe, but to find sparks, to have good, healthy conversations. Yeah. And these are 12 of our participants. There's one more that's added to the mix. Some of these are school teachers. It's men and women in the community that they're already on a faith journey, and they're maybe looking for something different or a deeper level of connection. Yeah,
so we're doing video teaching in Creole, making sure they have smartphones where they can watch those teachings, and then after each course, David and I will do, using the internet, live conversation with them as a group to kind of say, so what did you learn in this course? What questions does it raise for you? But there's you didn't say this, I don't know if it's okay for me to say this. There's a lot of not so great Christianity in Haiti, a lot of legalism, a lot of shallow Christianity. So we decided to start Leading with Jesus as a program for young Haitian Christian leaders where we could teach them a deeper and more beautiful gospel. And
yeah, sometimes in Haiti, it's the pastor as proprietor, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, so I'm going to start a church.
Yeah.
And it's not how we ought to do things.
So we're just getting started with that. So hopefully we can pull it off well. So
it's going to be good. God's in it. So
real quick, disaster relief and resilience.
yeah, so it's prone, right? We've got issues, and even last couple months ago, in June of this year, there was a small earthquake, but its center was right where we're at. And if you can imagine some of the construction of the buildings that are done, it's people stacking bricks or stacking stones and roof tins and all of those things. And so it hurt some people's homes. Thankfully, no one was seriously hurt where we were at, but when you find yourself all of a sudden living under a tarp and half of your walls are down or 60 or 70% of your home's destroyed, what do you do? And so I don't have the finished video and photos ready for it yet, but we were able to help rebuild a couple of homes and do that. And so we're always keeping an eye out for the next hurricane, the storm, the other things. We have food rations, we have tarps staged. And when these disasters strike, we're the only ones in the community that are helping. Back in August of 2021, there was a much larger earthquake, and Felix was taking his truck through the community to try and see what the ground truth was. And he had people coming up saying, just run me over. Just hit me with your truck because I've got nothing right now. Yeah. Because the earthquake happened and knocked all the walls down, they put up tarps, and then a tropical storm came through and blew all the tarps away. So it is hard. And resiliency for our staff, resiliency for the community is a big deal. If they're going to be a sustainable community, which is our ideal end state, New Life for Haiti shouldn't be around forever doing the same things, because that community, the goal is sustainability for them.
That story made me think of, because I was telling you stories from Hurricane Matthew in 2016. So after Hurricane Matthew came through, it rained for 27 of the next 30 days. So people were they had no homes left. They were living when we walked through the mountains, people were just living in the mud. And you're like, it's just,
when an earthquake happens, they're so fearful that they'll start sleeping in the streets.
Yeah.
So that a wall or a roof doesn't come down on them.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay. On a beautiful, bright note, talk about the Carnival of Hope. Did I get the name
Celebration
right?
of Hope.
Celebration of Hope.
It's not a carnival.
The Celebration of Hope on September 30th, because we want people to come.
Two Brothers Roundhouse in Aurora. Yeah, I saw some heads come up like, yeah, beer, I like beer. Will be served. But this is a great way to connect, to hear stories, to play some fun carnival games, and to help the work that we're doing. So you heard the story from Fran talking about the origins of New Life for Haiti through to today and through looking forward. The idea here is growth. New Life for Haiti is growing. And we're growing the community, not as an organization, but the work that we're doing is growing. We're growing the minds of young children and families through education. We're helping them to grow healthfully through water, clean water, through food, access to food, and knowledge and training of those things. And we need help. We need support. And because you, and I look across here, I see many of you are already sponsors, are already supporters, and that's awesome. We need more. We need more help.
Yeah.
Allison Green is our new development manager, and she's got a table set up outside where a fresh group of, won't be fresh next year, but from the prior school year, pre-K kids that really needed support. And so we have different sponsorship levels for that, to make sure that they eat lunch during the school day, to make sure that they're educated and they're provided school uniforms. And if you see the video out there, they're cute and they're hopping around and doing fun, interactive learning stuff.
So if you want to change a child's life, consider sponsoring a child. These guys have a table set up out there.
But please do join us.
And
Celebration of Hope.
Yeah, and do come to the Celebration of Hope. And we'll be talking about that more around here. And I would like you to do something as the band gets ready to just, and I know we're running long, and I'm sorry about that. It is the way it is. But for all the people at LifeSpring across the years who did all this, would you put your hands together for them? Thank you.